Hello. Last week I talked about what Lewis called the stab of joy, the Sehnsucht, that unbearably beautiful longing which struck him at times quite out of the blue. In his allegorical and semi-autobiographical story, The Pilgrim's Regress, he calls it sweet desire, an intense longing, a longing which is at the same time both painful and delightful. It's a precious longing, though there's no hope of its fulfilment in this world. The joy, the sweet desire, is a pointer to something else, to someone else. Well, something like the stab of joy happens often in the Chronicles of Narnia. For instance, when Mr. Beaver first mentions the name of Aslan in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, the children feel a sudden lurch inside them, which seems to have high significance at this point in the story. For Lucy, Susan and Peter, it's a lovely meaning, too lovely to put into words, which makes the dream so beautiful that you remember it all your life and are always wishing you could get into that dream again. And this is of the essence of what Lewis called Sehnsucht, the German word for longing or yearning, which is at the heart of his idea of joy. It has the intensity, too lovely to put into words, so beautiful. It has the longing, always wishing. It has the desire to repeat the joy. It's something that just can't be conveyed in words. After dinner, when Mr. Beaver says that mysterious name again, they receive once again that strange feeling, like the first signs of spring, like good news. And in the next chapter, a mysterious and lovely feeling. The yearning runs deep. For Susan, it's as if some delicious smell or some delightful strain of music had just floated by her, and music played on stringed instruments by dryads and naiads is the first thing they experience when they meet Aslan in person at the Hill of the Stone Table. For Lucy, it's like the first day of the school holidays or of summer, which looks forward to the reality of Aslan's country at the very end of the last battle, the last of the Chronicles, when Aslan says, "The term is over, the holidays have begun." Edmund feels only horror, because his heart is rotten. But he has his moment of joy later, when, amid all the horror of driving through the witch's winter on her sledge, he becomes aware of the sounds of thawing streams, chattering, murmuring, bubbling, splashing, and even, in the distance, roaring. And his heart gave a great leap, though he hardly knew why, when he realised that the frost was over. The great leap of the heart. It's fleeting, before he's plunged into more misery. A poem called Sweet Desire, published after Lewis's death, links the stab of joy and the leap of the heart that occur when he gets these intimations of another world that come like a fragrance on the breeze. These faint, wavering, far-travelled gleams coming from your country, fill me with care, that scent, that sweet stabbing, as at the song of thrush, that leap of the heart. In the next book, Prince Caspian, after centuries of suppressing the talking beasts and walking trees of Narnia, Dr. Cornelius, Caspian's tutor, is convinced the magic is still alive out there somewhere, somehow, and he's given his life to trying to find it. And he commissions Caspian to search it out and reawaken the lost Narnia. Under the stars at the top of the great tower of Miraz's castle in the heart of the enemy's realm, he unveils to his eager pupil the ancient magic. All you've heard about old Narnia is true. It is not the land of men. It is the country of Aslan, the country of the waking trees and visible naiads, of fauns and satyrs, of dwarfs and giants, of the gods and the centaurs, of talking beasts. The phrase old Narnia draws out all the bittersweet nostalgia. The litany of names arouses a longing for this blessed realm in Caspian, and in us as well, the reader. We're told at each conversation Caspian learned more about old Narnia, so that thinking and dreaming about the old days and longing that they might come back filled nearly all his spare hours. To his uncle, King Miraz, he inadvisedly says, I wish I could have lived in the old days." Of Cornelius declares, "I've been looking for traces of them all my life. Sometimes I thought I heard a dwarf drum in the mountains. Sometimes at night in the woods. I thought I'd caught a glimpse of fauns and satyrs dancing a long way off. When I came to the place, there was never anything there. I've often despaired, but something always happens to start me hoping again." And the key phrase here is "a long way off," which is a chief part of Lewis's definition of joy. It's the distance that's key, the sweet desire for a far-off country. The image of fauns dancing in the woods or the sound of dwarfs drumming in the mountains are for one elusive moment the call of joy to Cornelius. When the children and the dwarf Trumpkin lie down for the night in the woods on their journey towards Caspian at Aslan's Howe, Lucy, unable to sleep, gazes with a thrill of memory at the stars she recalls so fondly from her first adventure in Narnia. It's a perfect summer evening, and she wanders from the bivouac among the moonlit glades. And then comes something which is more than just memory. A great longing for the days when the trees could talk in Narnia came over her. There's a lot of nostalgia in the first half of Prince Caspian. Lewis considered nostalgia a manifestation of joy in its sweetly painful yearning for the past. In his sermon, The Weight of Glory, he speaks of a lifelong nostalgia. He says it's our longing to be reunited with something in the universe from which we now feel cut off, to be on the inside of some door which we've always seen from the outside. When Lucy next wakes in the night, so extremely happy, it seems quite irrational considering the terrible day that they've just had. And she's called awake a bit like Samuel at night in the Old Testament by a voice that she liked best in the world, a voice she can't quite place. It's not her father's, it's not Peter's. Lucy, came the call again. Often in the Bible, when God wants to get someone's attention, he calls their name twice. Samuel, Samuel, Mary, Mary, Simon, Simon, Saul, Saul, Lucy, Lucy. In the glade under the moonlight, there's a sound of trees, a queer, lilting, rustling, cool, merry noise. She can't make out the tune, but it makes her want to dance. "They're almost awake, not quite," said Lucy. The almost but not quite element of the experience makes it rather like the longing of Sehnsucht. Almost she knows the voice, almost she makes out a tune, almost the trees are awake. And then the key explanation, but she was only half interested in them. She wanted to get beyond them, to something else. It was from beyond them that the dear voice had called. The beyond is a chief characteristic of Lewis's joyous longing, and she presses through to a lawn of grass, and then, oh joy! It's the fulfillment, the reality, the reunion. For he was there, the huge lion shining white in the moonlight, and the desire is satisfied. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader begins with Lucy and Edmund reminiscing nostalgically about Narnia and gazing at the picture in Lucy's room at her cousin's home of a ship which looks very much like a Narnian ship, they think. "The question is," said Edmund, "whether it doesn't make things worse, looking at a Narnian ship when you can't get there. And it's the unattainability of the thing, you see, that makes the thing all the more poignant, the far-off country." At the end of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, chapter titles like The Beginning of the End of the World and The Wonders of the Last Sea have the ring of a William Morris 19th century romance. The Well at the World's End, The Water of the Wondrous Isles, that kind of thing. They echo the longing for beautiful lands that Lewis found in Morris. And the last chapter is named The Very End of the World, and it gives us the near fulfilment of what Lewis tells us in Surprised by Joy he found in the view of the distant mountains of Mourne from Belfast. It was the way to the world's end, the land of longing, the breaking and blessing of hearts. This world's end imagery had been with him for more than 30 years before he used it in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. when he was on holiday, aged 21, near Exmoor in the west of England, in the tiny village of Old Cleve, he wrote to his friend Arthur Greaves, "You do not, of course, know where Old Cleve is, nor did I till a week ago. It's not far from the end of the world." And he goes on to describe the Somerset landscape, which he found so beautiful. He says, "I went halfway down a deep fold in the hill where a stream ran under queer grey trees, and there were rocks to sit on, for the bracken and heather were wet. There I rested in an enormous silence, and gradually the old feeling came into my mind. You know what I mean, a feeling associated with Wagner and the Well at the World's End, which I haven't had for over a year now." In Prince Caspian, the wicked Miraz had tried to suppress this kind of thing, this sweet desire, by promoting fear of the woods towards the coast in Narnia. They feel safer if no one in Narnia dares to go down to the coast and look out to sea towards Aslan's land and the morning and the eastern end of the world. At the end of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the travellers approach the world's end, and that term is used 9 times. And for a moment they see beyond it into Aslan's country, so heartbreakingly beautiful they won't ever speak of it. It's like the moment in The Magician's Nephew when Diggory hears the song of Aslan at creation. It was, beyond comparison, the most beautiful noise he had ever heard. It was so beautiful he could hardly bear it. It's like that view of the distant mountains in Surprised by Joy that was the land of longing, the breaking and blessing of hearts. And now here, at the very end of the world, Lucy could only say, "It would break your heart." "Why?" said I. "Was it so sad?" "Sad? No," said Lucy.